One man, two resting places, nearly 400 miles apart. Yes, he's buried in both. How is this possible, and why did it even happen? This is the heroic and macabre story of Mad Anthony Wayne. Major General Anthony Wayne, or Mad Anthony, despite his nickname, was one of the geniuses of the American Revolution. He led troops in the Battle of Brandywine and battles at Malvern and Germantown and spent the winter at Valley Forge. He fought in the Battle of Monmouth and, famously, the Battle of Stony Point on the Hudson River. He earned the nickname Mad Anthony due to his bold, fearless, and reckless fighting style and high-risk attacks. He even kept fighting after a head injury. He was also known to be a heavy drinker. In 1796, after the Revolution, he was called back into service by George Washington to command the United States in the Northwest Indian War. He earned national respect after defeating their forces at the Battle of Fallen Timbers in Ohio. He was then sent to Erie, Pennsylvania to serve again at Fort Presque Isle. While there, he became seriously ill with gout, a painful and common disease at the time. Doctors were unable to arrive until the day he died, December 15, 1796. He was buried in a simple coffin, his initials and death date marked into the wood with brass tacks, as you can see here on the recovered coffin lid. As Wayne had requested, he was laid to rest at the foot of the blockhouse's flagstaff on Garrison Hill. What you are looking at is a recreation of the blockhouse on the spot where Wayne died after having been abandoned, burned, forgotten, and rebuilt several times. General Wayne may have remained there forever, if not for a strange turn of events. In 1809, Wayne's family decided to bring him home to rest in the family plot at St. David's Church Cemetery near his home in Radnor, Pennsylvania. Wayne's son, Colonel Isaac Wayne, was sent on the mission to bring his father home. Isaac assumed that after 13 years his father's remains would be significantly reduced, and so he only brought along a small two-wheeled carriage called a sulky. Upon opening the coffin, it was discovered that, instead of crumbling bones, Wayne's corpse was almost perfectly preserved. It was clear that the sulky transport was no longer adequate. It had room for a box of bones, but not a full-size coffin containing a corpse. So, Isaac met with a man named Dr. Wallace, who proposed a Native American solution. With assistance, Dr. Wallace dismembered the body and boiled it in a large iron kettle until the flesh dropped off. He cleaned the bones and packed them into Isaac's trunk. The task was so sickening that Dr. Wallace threw the remaining flesh and his instruments back into the coffin and closed the grave. Right here. Erie County Historical Society displays what is most likely a replica of the iron kettle, as well as the chair Anthony Wayne died in, a lock of his hair taken from his head in 1809, and recovered remnants of clothing and the dissection instruments. Isaac carried his father's bones on a long journey across Pennsylvania. He was deeply troubled by the thought that he had allowed his father's remains to be handled disrespectfully. Determined to make things right, he completed the trip, and on July 4, 1809, the general's bones were laid to rest at St. David's Church before an enormous crowd. At last, Wayne received the grand funeral ceremony that many believed he deserved. This unusual reburial sparked a lasting legend. Did all of Wayne's bones truly reach their final resting place? According to local lore, they did not. One version of the story claims that Isaac struggled to secure the heavy trunk of bones in his small sulky during a long trip. The trunk supposedly fell off several times, bursting open and scattering bones along the road. Another account suggests that Isaac, hurrying to complete the journey, failed to notice bones slipping out until he arrived in Radnor. Some say that every New Year's Day, Anthony Wayne's birthday, his spirit rises from the grave in Radnor and travels across Pennsylvania in search of his missing bones. Along the old route, witnesses have reported seeing a man dressed in colonial-era clothing, sometimes riding a horse, pausing as though searching for something lost. Many insist they recognize the stern face of Mad Anthony Wayne himself. Paranormalists suggest that unrestful spirits linger when burials are incomplete or unconsecrated. With pieces of his remains said to be scattered across the state, Wayne can never fully rest. He is the only ghost in Pennsylvania said to haunt from one end of the state to the other. And sightings have even been reported beyond its borders, from Virginia to New York to even Canada, where he is said to reenact scenes from his military triumphs. Another strand of the story proposes that Wayne was cursed in both life and death by an executed aide of his, named Trotter, who he had wronged due to his excessive drinking. Whether appearing alone or astride his favorite horse, Wayne's ghost is described as fierce and determined, as if he's still fighting battles long after the war has ended.